Evening. Good, thank you. First of all, on behalf of our Chancellor, Dr. Victor J. Boschini, as well as our President, Daniel Pullen, the Board of Trustees, I am honored to be here this evening with you on this wonderful occasion where we reflect upon not only the history of this great institution, but also the present and the future. Before I give my 1 hour remarks that Marcellus asked me to bring to you this evening, I would like to start by an acknowledgement upon this place which this university has been built. This acknowledgement goes as such. TCU acknowledges the many benefits, responsibilities, and relationships of being in this place, which we share with all living beings. We respectfully acknowledge that all Native American people who have lived on this land since time has been immemorial. TCU especially acknowledges and pays respect to the Wichita and the affiliated tribes upon which historical homeland our university is located. We wanted to make sure that you were aware of the grounds in which you walk upon and the place that you sit from those who have come before us and still are part of the fabric of TCU. Now, as I was preparing for my 1 hour remarks, I did a little bit of research on history. And I really asked myself the question, what does history teach us as it relates to the present and the future? Well, first of all, history teaches us understanding patterns, examining historical events and their outcomes that help us to identify patterns and reoccurring themes. By studying the past, we can gain insights into human behavior, societal trends, and political dynamics. This knowledge can guide us in predicting and navigating similar patterns, both in the present and in the future. History also helps us in shaping identity and values. And I think this speaks true to the TCU promise and the values of this university. History shapes our societal and individual identities by understanding the struggles, the achievements, and value of the past. We can develop a stronger sense of who we are as individuals by looking at the past. This knowledge can inspire us, allow us to bring our collective actions toward shared goals, foster social cohesion, and guide us in defining our values and our North Star moral compass. Now, I can go on and on with what history teaches us in the present and in the future, but I just want to welcome you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed members of the TCU community, to this wonderful, important milestone that we celebrate here this evening. And before I go any further, I would like to just acknowledge those who planned the Black Excellence Gala about a week ago. If you would stand, those planners, Cagnes, I know you're here, Anisha Torres. It was indeed a wonderful experience, one that I will always treasure. So today we proudly unveil TCU's History to Remember book, a testament to the remarkable journey of Black students, faculty, and leaders over the course of TCU's 150 years of existence. This commemorative book serves as a tribute to the courageous individuals who have contributed to the significance of this university's growth and the unique culture that relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It showcases all leaders from all ethnic groups, their tenacity, their resilience, their unwavering commitment to shaping a better future for themselves, but more importantly, for generations to come. Within its pages, you will find inspiring stories of trailblazers who defied barriers, shattered stereotypes, and accomplished extraordinary feats. From the earliest pioneers who entered our halls of this university to the distinguished faculty members who imparts wisdom and knowledge on the visionary leaders who are propel progress, their legacies are interwoven into the fabric of TCU's history. So tonight we are honored to have with us the esteemed authors who have painstakingly researched, chronicled, and captured the essence of this remarkable journey. Their dedication to unearthing the truth, honoring individual experiences, and preserving the important part of TCU's legacy is commendable. We express our deepest gratitude to them for their invaluable contributions. Dr. Frederick W. Goodings, Jr., stand, wave to the crowd. And I'm apologize up front if I butchered this name, but I'm gonna give it my best shot because it's her given name and it should be spoken. Dr. Sylvain Gandu Kalinga Greensward. And last but not least, a young man that I would like to be when I grow up, Marcellus R. Perkins. Marcellus, please. Now, following my remarks, we'll have the privilege of witnessing a panel discussion featuring both the authors and some living legends of TCU. This panel will serve as an opportunity to engage in a meaningful dialogue, to gain insights and forge connections, bridging the gap between the past and the present. While I know you all have very busy lives, let's pause and reflect on the resilient and collective spirit that has brought us to this momentous occasion. This book that is outside, that hopefully you will purchase, stands not only as a testament to the progress made, but also as a reminder to the work that is yet to be done. Together, we must continue striving for equity, individuality, inclusiveness, and creating a culture of nurturing environments that empowers all individuals to thrive and succeed. So once again, we send our warmest welcome to each of you. We encourage you to immerse yourself into the rich tapestry of the stories found within the pages of TCU history, a book to remember. Pay closely attention to a handsome face that you'll see as you page through the book itself. But let us celebrate the momentous achievements of Black students, Black faculty members, and leaders throughout our cherished institutional history. So now I would like to direct your attention to a video regarding TCU's race and reconciliation. The video, please.
TCU integrated its main campus in 1964.
A unanimous vote by the Student Congress to send to the trustees that we need to racially integrate now.
56 years later, students still voice their concerns regarding racial discrimination on campus. The Oral History Project is a new way to interpret and understand TCU's rich and complex history.
Most of what we know of the African American experience is told through white voices. Then what does that say about the people who actually had the experience?
There is another side to every story.
I emailed him one day and said, if you're really serious about what you're saying, we need to have a meeting.
2016 marked a shift as students expressed growing frustrations over the lack of Black representation.
Well, this is a little weird. I wasn't used to that in my classes. And it occurred to me that every time a Black student probably walked into a room, that's how they felt at TCU. They were usually the only person that looked like them.
I was like, I want to shake things up. And if it comes down to it, I would get arrested, for the cause.
Though TCU has publicly promoted diversity, we still have a long way to go.
And so what I'm trying to do is set a tone. And my tone on this whole race thing is that there's room at the table for everybody.
In 2000, being 4% Black and 84% Caucasian, TCU did not meet the 17% minority quota for diversity.
And I think for African American students, it was 200, maybe 200 plus. So it was small enough to where we knew everyone.
In 1990, thanks to the tireless efforts of Michelle Smith, Dr. Linda Moore, and student athletes, TCU adopted Martin Luther King's Day as a campus-wide holiday.
The athletes knew it, they know it. They're not blind.
In 1980, TCU's first, though short-lived interracial fraternity, Chi Chi Epsilon, was born, relived the inception of Black student activism. Discover success stories like Dr. Jennifer Giddings Brooks, first Black Miss TCU, and Dr. James Cash, first Black TCU student athlete.
That it would be fitting to erect a statue of Dr. Cash in front of Schulmeyer Arena.
Uncover mysteries.
So, seeing how these students left, never to return, what we're asking is, what happened to them? And what possibly can make them not want to ever return?
They just decided they were going to do this and brought 5 Black kids on campus. The atmosphere was not welcoming.
Understand the cost of integration through the story of Dr. Ron Hurdle, first Black cheerleader at TCU.
You know, Ronnie was treated so poorly.
I look back on this.
Sorry. But, you know, we never thought of anything like this. We were just trying to do what we thought we should do. And you hit it on the head that, you know, now is the time for everybody to do what they can where they are.
And get the whole, untold, unmuted story.
So who then would counter something that was, democratically established? Who are they? Because we always say they did.
It was
time to reconcile that.
We need to retrace our steps.
Stay tuned.
So here we are. I am Dr. Sylviane Greensword, and I will give you some brief remarks concerning some things that you will see when you read the book. Notice I didn't say if you read the book, but when you read the book. The oral history project, you just saw the video. This is the part that documented a lot of the activism that took place on campus that led to the changes. I'm tracing our steps back to our humble beginnings because it is very important that for us to fully appreciate the university that we all partake in, we have to understand what it cost for this to happen. And those humble beginnings allow us to see that, yes, we were maybe started in purple and white, but there was a lot of purple, white, and Black, even from our very first days. There's a highlight story on Charlie Thorpe. Some of you have heard of Charlie Thorpe. He is a formerly enslaved individual who is tied to the founders of TCU, including working for the men who own our very first building in Thorpe Spring. The chapter on humble beginnings gives you some highlight on the life of Charlie Thorpe, including the work that he did to help build the town of Thorpe Spring, and the work that he and his wife, Kate, did for TCU. The fact that they were not able to send their children to school because they were working for TCU is noteworthy. They sacrificed so that others could have access to education. Let's ponder. They sacrificed so that others could have access to education. In a eulogic text written after the death of Charlie Thorpe, Randolph Clark, one of the founders of TCU, asked, "Who is to blame for this waste?" What you will read in this book attempts to answer that question, but that question remains open-ended. Most importantly, what we're trying to do is eliminate all instances of waste at TCU. And in order for us to understand that and move forward, we have to go back to our humble beginnings.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcellus Perkins. I'm not sure whose voice that was on the voiceover. Almost put me to sleep. But my section, I talk about community. And so a lot of times here at TCU, we talk about athletics. We talk about who we are on campus, but who are we in Fort Worth? I'm talking about Eastbury. I'm talking about Como. I'm talking about North Texas. And so one of the things I wanted to highlight in mind is our relationship we have with a historically black college university called Jarvis Christian University. And so as I was going through our research and looking at some of the halls and the buildings, I came across Jarvis Hall. Intrigued by the name, I Googled it. Jarvis Christian College at the time, now Jarvis Christian University, popped up. And I was wondering what might be the connection Jarvis Hall has with Jarvis Christian University. And so while digging into the name, who are the Jarvis family members? Van Zandt is a very popular name here in Fort Worth as well as in the state of Texas. Ida Van Zandt Jarvis was the first woman on the board of trustees here at TCU. Her husband, James Jarvis, fought for the Confederacy, first president of the board of trustees as well. So what might these two individuals who fought for the Confederacy have a background in enslavement? Why are they so involved in black education now? And so what you'll read in the book, I give you crumbs that TCU has had a very complicated, nuanced relationship with this historically black college and university. In two key points in time, we look at after enslavement. So university is founded, Jarvis was founded in 1912, as well as I look at in the 1960s and during the civil rights era integration. How was Jarvis used by TCU to get around this idea of integration? And so at the top, there's a quote in the newspaper that says, "Jarvis Institute is a memorial to her loved and faithful slaves." This is from Ida Van Zandt Jarvis. And so if a HBCU is named after you, you have this direct tie to us as a university. We have a responsibility to explore that relationship as a university. It is 2023, but this story has remnants of black people in the community today and where we find placement here on TCU's campus. Dr. G.
So I have the hard part of going after these illustrious scholars here. But the part that really jumps out to me in terms of this project and what we researched is history can also do so many things, including provide perspective. So if you notice on the screen here, it says here what? TCU removes all barriers. This is a screenshot from our Mary Coots Burnett Library, and rightfully so, is proudly proclaiming and heralding this moment in time, January 23rd, 1964, when TCU removed all barriers, allowing, I guess, if that's the verb, African Americans like myself to attend TCU as an undergraduate student. However, we must read the fine print. And so if you read the minutes, right, of the meeting that had this glorious decree, there's just three small little details I'd like to point out before I make my way to my seat. Number one is, and again, it may be difficult for many of you to read, it's difficult for me to read up here. So what is underlined, and again, if you find this to be an excellent teaser, you're like, I can't read this. Well, of course you can read it in the book. So don't strain yourself, right? Okay, I'm just a teaser. But the first item that I thought was very interesting was this idea that at the same time TCU announces that they're going to raise the admission requirements. That's interesting. Secondly, they also are going to raise the tuition. And thirdly, there's a line in here about, but even no matter what, most African Americans want to go attend the HBCU anyway. So we really shouldn't have to worry about African Americans on our campus, right? At least not the floodgates opening. So what's the point? The point is not to bash TCU and to make us feel bad or ashamed about what was done in the past. But if anything, what we want to do is just be honest about what's the full story. Because here's what happened. Is it very true? Because now, for example, now that we know these three details, this phrase, TCU removes all barriers, might take on a different tone or taste now, as it should. Because here's what I'm suggesting to us all, that rather than us to be embarrassed by these darker chapters and shroud them in mystery and hide them away, rather than erase our past, we should embrace our past. Because what this does is this provides a referendum to us now, right? You saw how they, quote unquote, did the right thing, but the question is, when they unlocked the door, is that the same thing as opening the door, right? I mean, think about it. Sometimes I'll forget to lock my door at home, and people can drive by and not know whether it's locked or unlocked. Meanwhile, if I told you there's a barbecue at my crib, translation, home, domicile, residence, right? Domicile, that's correct. That's where I domicile, okay? The idea is that if I have the balloons out and the door is open, then you hear the music, the idea is it's an open invitation, to come on in. So all I'm saying is, with all the good efforts that good people are doing right now, we allow the history to remind us about the depth of our efforts. Are we unlocking the door, or are we truly opening it? Right? And so again, we should not be afraid. We can allow the dark chapters of the past to light the path forward. Thank you. And so, at this moment in time, speaking of doorways, what we would like to do is open the door from where the past meets the present, and I'd like to call up to the stage the mellifluous, the magnificent, and the marvelous Mr. Perkins, who will introduce our living legends.
So this is the fun part. We wanted to spend briefly on our research because y'all can buy the book and read it, but this is the time where we can really engage with our living legends. So for our special guest panelists, when I call your name and read your bio, please take a seat at the front. Mr. Ronald Hurdle, a former associate judge for the Dallas County Civil District Court. He was TCU's first African-American cheerleader. Dr. Zorana Jones is the Assistant Dean for Student Support at TCU's College of Science and Engineering. She is the founder of the STEM Scholar Program, the past president of TCU's Black Alumni Alliance, and the recipient of the 2023 Game Changer Award. Dr. Andrea Matthews is president of the Buffalo Soldiers Association of West Point Incorporated. She is co-author of Breaking Bread and Breaking Beats, Churches and Hip Hop, A Basic Guide to Key Issues, and has served as adjunct professor in the Humanities Department at Lone Star College Victory Center since 2013. Leon Reed Jr. is a criminal defense attorney at the law office of Leon Reed Jr. He is involved in countless community outreach programs and has actively advocated for police reform in the state of Texas. LaDainian Tomlinson was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 2017 and the College Football Hall of Fame in 2014, having played the majority of his award-winning 11-year career with the San Diego Chargers after being selected as the 5th overall pick in the 2001 NFL Draft. As a Horned Frog in 2000, he received the Doak Walker Award as the nation's top college running back. Along with football accolades, he and his wife, Tashoa, created the Tomlinson Touching Lives Foundation. The foundation enhances the lives of deserving families through education, social and cultural awareness, and positive self-esteem. He is a member of TCU's Board of Trustees. And it is only right that I read, Ronald C. Parker is the president and CEO of the National Association of Securities Professionals. the permanent security advocacy organization for minorities and women in the United States and around the world. Based in Washington, D.C., a former Horned Frog football player, he's a lifetime member of the Block T Association. He was inducted into the TCU Block T Hall of Fame in 2004. He is a member of the Executive Committee of the TCU Board of Trustees, chair of Lead On, a campaign for TCU, and member of the Neely Board of Advisors, as well as numerous national, regional, and local boards. Please stand, Trustee Thornton. So, for the panelists, I'll toss up these questions, so whoever wants to take them, you may, and then I have some more directed questions I'll get to. So the first, did you know you were making history? When you were a student here, walking through University Drive, did you know you were making history? Don't be scared.
Well, I think I'm the oldest one on the panel here, so I'll pick up first. This was a question that was asked of me by the doctors when I was asked to come in and do an interview, and I'm going to try to repeat that response, and my answer was no. You know, when you're in the middle of stuff, you really don't realize what's going on around you. I was here from 1967 to 71. And at that time, you knew all the black students on campus. Most of them were athletes who had been recruited, James Cash, Lindsay Cole, and some others. But you were just trying to make it. You know, you weren't thinking, hey, I'm doing something significant. And when I was asked that question, I didn't even think about it. I said, no, I didn't think about that at the time. And I know others may think it's a little different. I'm sure LaDamon, when he was rushing for all those yards, he knew he was doing something special. Everybody across the country knew it was special, but as for me, I didn't think I was doing anything special. I was just trying to fit in.
Absolutely not. I was a first-generation college student, so I was just trying to make it, just trying to get through school. I was a nursing major. Nursing is hard. So I was really just happy to be here and doing the best that I could and trying to make my family proud. Lots of things happened, lots of great things happened during the time I was there. There were challenges. But no, I just wanted to be a student, get an education, and attend a great institution and make my family proud. That was the goal.
Well, TCU recruited a whole bunch of people. I came from Washington, D.C., and somebody did something great at my high school. And there was a lady here in admissions called Audrey. And she recruited, actually, she found me on a senior skip day. And I actually, and this is a true story, senior skip day, and I came in, and so after talking to her and listening about TCU, I knew coming here that this would be a great opportunity. Didn't know I was gonna make history, but from being in the East Coast, coming down south, we already thought the South was slow. So I came here from the East Coast. So I came coming to shake some stuff up. But I didn't know it. I didn't think it was going to be history, that I was making history. I was just doing what at the time, it was just the times of the day I was here, and TCU gave me an open platform to be able to address a lot of issues that I thought needed to be addressed.
I've never considered myself old enough to be legendary or historical. But then I looked up there and I realized I know some of the people in the picture. And I was like, well, damn. I am old. But no, I hit the yard with a purpose because I was an atypical student in that I had served time in the Marine Corps. So when I hit the campus, I wasn't afraid of anything, and I purposed it in my mind that I'm going to be a college student and have fun and do the things that college students do. And then the natural servant in me put me to work in other areas. Like he said, the only person that we knew was making history is to my left. And so we were all pushing and pulling for him to win the Heisman, which he should have won that year, because the quarterback that got it in front of him didn't do nothing and ain't got a gold jacket sitting at the house. Yeah, I said it. You know, but we had no idea, and it's interesting that 3 of us were on the campus at the same time, and we had just missed 4. And so, you know, we were like at an interesting time on the yard that I didn't even realize.
Well said. I believe it's hard to think about history or that you're making history when you're so focused on the journey at hand, and you talked about that. You know, we were so focused on the day in, the day out, the structure of, you know, the academic rigors of trying to survive on this campus, trying to, you know, not only play sports, but, you know, make the grades over there and study hall and fall into, you know, the structure of being a college kid. So it's really hard to think about the history. I think the one thing that I was conscious of, though, was the fact that TCU did give us a platform. I understood that I was playing Division I football, and a lot of those games were going to be on television. And so not only me, but the guys on that team, my classmates, we thought about leaving a legacy for TCU, winning a lot so that people would talk about TCU. That's certainly what we thought about. But the other thing was my last name, honoring my last name and taking it to a place that has never been taken before, being descendants of slaves, understanding that. And not to mention being the first to just simply make it to college and be on the college campus.
Thank you. So again, I'll ask, and it's a toss-up, whoever wants to answer it. What do you want future TCU students to remember? And not just students, faculty, staff. Look, what do you want TCU to remember?
Yeah, I think this here, this is important, the history of TCU, because, I mean, it's something powerful about learning your history. I mean, certainly when I learned my history and where I come from, it was so powerful to me, but the confidence and knowing who you are at the same time, and knowing that no one can tell you any different. No one can tell you who you are, because you already know who you are and what you stand for, where you come from. So I think the same applies here. If we know our history, no one can ever come and say, well, you know, TCU descended from, the founders were slave owners. Well, we know that. We did our research. We know the full story. Mm-hmm. So no one can be out in this community telling us about our own story. That's what's so important for our future students.
What I'd like future students to know is you deserve to be here. This is your house. You are a TCU Horned Frog, not a black TCU Horned Frog, so to speak, not a white. You are a Horned Frog. It means that, and because of this history, I know they didn't let us in just on affirmative action. They don't like us that much. Right? So the reason why I say that is that because when I was here, that's how I treated being at TCU. I deserved to be here. I had the grades, I had the pedigree, I had the background, I had the education, the skill set, and that I was here to be here because I deserved, and because I'm an American, I got to pick where I wanted to go to school, and I chose TCU. And I wasn't gonna let anybody white, faculty, or anybody else take that from me. I deserved to be here. So in that light, I took advantage, as my history shows here, I took advantage of every single thing that TCU had. So if they said there were no black people, I said, well, I'm gonna be the first one. They didn't do it. You couldn't say, okay, well, we're gonna do this. And I literally, if there was something that we weren't doing, I was the first one there. So I was the first one to go down to the football. They didn't even let black women or black people go down into the football and do the surgeries. I was the first one to sign up for college work study, right? And I got to work downstairs while they served the food to the football players. Because that's where, I mean, if you're here, it doesn't take every day to figure out that all the black people were on the football team or playing some sport. So I literally did that. Then like I said, being the Black Student Union president, anything that was going on that they said we could not do, we were not there, that's not for us. And I enjoyed walking into the classroom being the only black, because now you know times have changed. And I didn't have to say I was black. When I walked in, they automatically knew. So I enjoyed that part. I literally, and I don't, blowing this history, I walked on this campus proud. Because the people that, the shoulders that I stood on, they couldn't do that. So I enjoyed walking into class. I liked messing them up. I came in, I was raising hands and having all kind of conversations because this is what my ancestors could not do. And the fact that I could do it during this time and I was the one chosen to do it, I had to stand up, had to show, and I want every student here to know that if you chose this school and you got in to this school, you deserve to be here. So take full advantage of it, and I did.
Thank you. Well, Dr. Jones, I can start with you for next question, Dr. Jones. So, to the recent recipient of the TCU Black Excellence Gala Game Changer Award, Dr. Jones, you have been a well-decorated horned frog who has been on multiple sides of campus, from a student to teaching in the classroom to overseeing game-changing programs. Did you ever see yourself returning to work for TCU? What brought you back, and how has campus changed during your time, and where do we go next?
Right. Go, Dr. Jones. That's a lot. We are friends in this room. To be honest, no. When I left TCU, I had a great time, but I was ready to go. And initially, did not want to come back, did not want to give, did not want to participate. There were some hard feelings initially when I left. And so I went off and I worked at a couple of local hospitals, but I had some great mentors when I was here. And so one of those mentors reached out, Dr. Rhonda King. She's fantastic. And asked me to come back and work here. And I was working at one of the local hospitals. I was on the floor, and I was like, maybe. And so I interviewed initially, did not get the job. So I went on about my business. I was like, I got a decent paying job. I'll keep doing what I do. And then about 6 months later, someone I care about very deeply invited me to come and interview again. By that time, I was 6 months pregnant. And so I was like, well, if you'll have me, I'm about to have a baby. If you want me to come work, we will. And so Paulette Burns, Dr. Paulette Burns, she has recently passed. She was an amazing mentor. But came in, and what was great about that opportunity, I came in as a coordinator of recruitment, retention, and alumni relations. When you have a long title, you don't make money. True. But she allowed me to come back and work. And one of the goals was I was recruiting for the nursing program, and we wanted to diversify the nursing program. That was in 2002. And so it felt different. So again, recruitment and retention in alumni relations, I then started to have interaction with our alum. And so doing programming with alum who had this great joy for TCU kind of changed my perspective a little bit. And then when you're having to sell an institution that you love, but go out and recruit of why someone should come to TCU, why choose this program, you start to see that, no, there are these great resources here, and there are some amazing people here, and we can absolutely change lives here, right? One thing I always say about education is once you have it, no one can take it away from you, right? And so bringing in as many people as I could to have this outstanding education here has always been the goal, always been what drives me at TCU. And then I will say what's been an amazing opportunity is as I've been here, people have allowed me to do things. I'm like, I have an idea. Let's collaborate. How can we do this to benefit students? Students has always been the forefront of what I've wanted to do. And I've made a pretty successful run at tying in these things to what TCU mission is, right? If we say our vision and action is to, increase rigor, retention, improve the student experience, all these things, I'm gonna create programs to tie that. And then if I have the possibility, bring diverse students in to help us again to develop those goals and to reach our mission. And so, didn't think I was coming back, but when I came back, I was nurtured, I was mentored, I was given opportunities to do and create. And so that's kind of what I've been doing along the way. Did I answer all your questions? Where do we go from here? Ooh.
Where do we go from here?
Bigger and better things. No, I don't know. I mean, I always have ideas. Trustee. Y'all see me, I see you. Always have, ideas, and again, if anything to promote our students, anything for them to have an amazing experience at TCU, I'm all for it, so you can call on me for that.
Okay. My next question, yes. For the young man who has roots in Woodville, Mississippi, raised in the historic neighborhood of Como, and now a new board member of the ACLU, American Civil Liberties of Union of Texas, how did your experience growing up in Como, Fort Worth confirm and or challenge what you knew about TCU once you became a student?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's go on back then.
Who told y'all I was on the board?
Hey, man, I did my research.
Damn, y'all are good. Well, for those who don't know, Woodville, Mississippi, you kind of got to be a little bit old school. It was an old movie called The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Now, if you're old enough, you've seen it, and at the end of the movie, Cicely Tyson, who plays a former freed slave whose son was a civil rights worker who got murdered, just got frustrated, and at 90, 100-something years old, she just decided, you know what? I'm going to go drink from this white water fountain to see if the water tastes the same as it do from everywhere else. And so as she was going and making her way to the water fountain, no one stopped her, no one bothered her, the sheriff, everyone recognized in the moment what was taking place. And that scene was filmed in Woodville, Mississippi, which is also the home of Jefferson Davis, the president of the South, which is, again, where my family tree is from. So when my family relocated to Fort Worth, it was by virtue of one of my elder uncles who had happened to join the Air Force, and he got stationed at Carswell. And so back in the day, if somebody got out, you could expect that a relative was coming to live with you for a little while till you got a job and you were able to get a place and all this. And so in the house that I grew up in, to see so many aunts and uncles come live with us while I was little and none of us knew the difference, and I actually bought a house 14 doors down from where I was raised, same floor plan. And as an adult, I realized how small the house actually is, but yet we never knew or to us, it was just normal. And so in Como, and if you don't know Como, Como's a small town about 10 minutes down West Vickery over there, between Bryan Irvin and Hewlin. There's a small lake, Lake Como Community Center. We're our own city within a city. And being from Como, I can literally go to the community center, look over and see the stadium. And for children growing up in Como, TCU was never really an opportunity. It was never a real thing. And the only 2 times that I'd ever come to TCU was one year I came to a football game because somebody else invited me, and I was like in the 8th grade. And then the second time that I was at TCU, we lost a high school football playoff game on the field, and I really didn't have good feelings about TCU. But it really wasn't a place that we realistically considered going. So after high school, I went to the Marine Corps for 7 years. Hoorah. And when it came to the point, there was a transition point in the Marine Corps that I had an epiphany, thanks to Ricky Lake. That's a whole nother story that if you want to see me afterwards, I'll tell you about it. But I decided, okay, well, I want to go to school. I want to go to college. And this kind of flows into a previous question that where do I want to go? So I started writing down all of the schools because I knew I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps and go to school. Okay, so I started doing some research. Okay, I want to write Fisk, okay, Southern, Grambling, Paul Quinn. And so at that point, I was stationed at the embassy in Barbados. And so, you have to write a personal statement. So I asked the economics officer, about 5'4", white guy, balding, pocket protector with 6 pens, glasses. If you think of an economics director who works at an embassy, it is him. It is Dilbert. This guy was straight Dilbert. So I said, hey, I'm looking at going to college, and this was like during a time when George Bush I was doing a downsize in the military, I'm looking at going to college. I need for you to check out all of my stuff, and he got so excited. Yo, Sergeant Reed, oh, that's great. Of course I'll look over your stuff. Where are you looking at going? I said, Fisk, Grambling, Paul Quinn, and he just felt so deflated in that moment. He said, Sergeant Reed, I'm gonna tell you something. Those are great schools, and you do well at those, but you have the ability to go to any school you want to go to. And if black people don't start going to schools where predominantly white folk go, they'll think you can't. This is a 5'4" economics officer with 6 pens in his pocket, telling Sergeant Reed, leader of men and Marines, and he just laid it down to me, and I was like, you know what? I went, TCU, Texas, A&M, TCU. And so I decided to come home to the neighborhood where I grew up, because if I wanted the kids to see me every day get up in my 1973 Volkswagen Beetle, drive out of Como, come to TCU, go back late at night, and hang out at the community center with my sticker on, and while I was here, I was involved in everything. If the opportunity availed itself to get into anything, I was involved in it. Hyperfrogs, student government, Black Student Association. Shoot, I was in OLAS, the Organization of Latin American Students. And the thing was, don't be scared. Don't be scared. So, and TCU availed itself to us when we were here. When we asked TCU, hey, we want to do this, I can honestly say I was never told no. Sometimes I was a little disappointed that I had to ask about certain stuff, like, hey, why isn't there a plan? Why is it up to the students? There should be a plan. If the students don't bring it up, it won't get brought up, but you should have a plan. Again, that was an interesting analogy about an unlocked door versus an open door. Where's the plan on y'all's side? We should be helping y'all, not y'all always helping us. So that's one of the transitions that I made, and now every chance I get, I bring kids from Como to the games, kids from Como to the campus. And when we were on campus, we had a little thing where we would go get students from OD Wide, and we'd have all-night lock-ins and all kinds of stuff on campus, just to let them know, no, you can come up here. Get used to being on a college campus, get used to being on this college campus. And so that's how I was able to transition from Como to TCU, and I still live 14 doors down from where I was raised in Como.
Dr. Matthews, you worked alongside the late, great Dr. Linda Moore to bring MLK Day here on campus. How important was it for you all during that time to get TCU to support a mission such as that as a student? How can we continue to honor the legacies of trailblazers from our campus community and those from afar?
It was very important. So when I got here in '87, like I said, we were on blaze. We were on fire. So we did a simulation in the Student Union building. To your point, TCU, I don't know if they were afraid to say no or whatever, but whatever we dreamed up, they let us do. So I actually got with Bright Divinity School and got students and took all the white students, and we converted the little ballroom in the Student Union building, and we actually created South Africa. And I made all the white students that came from Bright be South Africans, blacks, and we built cages, we built everything in there, and to protest South Africa. Then I mean, God, like I can tell you, I worked with Bright also too. We were doing the part where we actually had a discussion, and they slit the black cat throat of a black cat and threw it on one of the pastors that was from Bright. Yes. Then we found out that the KKK actually had a student union club here at TCU and had a box. And so we were riding in the skiff, and we were protesting. So because I worked down with the football team, I knew everybody. Giles, Delaney, I knew everybody. And so when Linda and Michelle were doing their thing, I was the one that came down to the football team, and we were saying, hey, the only way TCU's going to recognize Dr. Martin Luther King is the football team has to walk. That's it. There's no other way. We've done everything. Linda, we've done everything. Like I said, we protested South Africa. We were doing everything. We were talking. Horatio Porter and I, we were driving cars up. And I even convinced Horatio Porter to drive up onto the president up there by the Frog and drive his car up there so that the TCU police could stop us so he could get to go to the president's office so we could sit down to find out how we could Qs and Deltas could have parties. We knew that Horatio Porter, if anybody could get to the president, it would be, we were so organized back then. We knew that if we could get Horatio Porter to the president's office, and the only way he could get there is if he had to do something that made them actually take him to the president's office. So the only thing that we could do that he couldn't get kicked out and really be in a problem was drive up and drive the car up there. And then once he went to the president's office, we actually got to start throwing parties. And so from my interactions with the football team and all the things that we did, I talked to Leon Clay, who is the quarterback. And we sat down and had a deep, deep conversation. And Leon Clay went back to a couple more of the football players. And the next thing we know, it's on the front page of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and Leon and them are walking up the thing talking about they're not playing football until they actually recognize Martin Luther King as a holiday. And then all the work that Linda and them were doing actually came through, and it was a great way for us to support her. And so because they were doing protests and conversations all in the Student Union building, and we all kind of watched and listened and paid attention to it, and we wanted to support. And we knew, or at least I knew, that the only way, based on how this whole conversation got started, you had the power as football players. That was the crux of this institution. And when and what I told Leon was, I came here again, understanding that I deserved to be here. So I understood our power. I understood exactly what it meant when you put that TCU uniform on and you ran up and down that field, and it was time to cash in. It was time to actually take the power that we had, and that because you've ran so many miles and you were so phenomenal athletes and you were still getting the grades, because that's when I was here when we had one of the first classes where I think 80% of the football team actually graduated from TCU. We were like ranked because we actually had, we were the group, when I was here from 87 to 92, we were so focused. We didn't know we were gonna make history, but we did know we had to make an impact. We knew that we hit TCU so hard every year. I know when I got ready to leave, I know they were like, woo, hurry up and get her out of here. And, you know what I mean? And so we literally, so what that was for us was a sitting around. We make a joke about it now when you talk about coming back. We make a joke because we were all the athletes were in one dorm, and then they started spreading them out. Being like, TCU changed everything. You then became off limits. You know, they started pulling up barriers between the regular students and the athletes after that. But Leon Clay, I will have to say, and I don't know if anybody's been able to catch Leon Clay, but we sat up and talked, and he had the courage. He had the courage to go in there and convince the football team and everybody to walk off. And so what was the second part of the question?
I think you answered it.
Okay, all right. Well then, and I just want to say, yeah, I think that the class from 87 to 92, we were a unique breed coming out of the hip hop movement. TCU was recruiting a lot of people from the East Coast, a lot of people from the West Coast. And again, we came here on fire. And we were determined to make a change, and we had a lot of support, a lot of support from mentors and from the faculty. And Linda Thrain, when she did what she did, we had to figure out a way to support her. Yeah. And that's what we did. And the football team, the basketball team, I'm gonna tell it. The basketball team chickened out. But that's how it happened.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So it took somebody else 5 years.
So you can keep passing the mic that way, because you brought up a good point about the football team. So for the College Football NFL Hall of Famer, you spent a lot of time being one of, if not the most notable faces and names of the historic TCU football program. Now you wear a different uniform that helps elevate the profile of TCU as a board member. How has reconnecting to TCU as an engaged trustee changed your perspective as a Horned Frog?
Wow. I talked about the focus on the journey when you're here on campus and really falling into the structure of, practice and school. And then you're becoming a young adult. So you also have bills. I stayed off campus. So learning how to balance a checkbook and all those kinds of things and having money at the end, of the month. So it really was all about me. The focus was. I really didn't care about anything else. I know this sounds selfish, but in order for me to survive in that capacity where I was, I had to really think about being structured. And I still live my life like that. I'm a very structured person. So now, going through all the years of playing professional football and now still working for the organization in Los Angeles on the business side, I really have learned the value of service, and I think that's what I provide now, being, obviously on a board of trustee member, is simply being in service of whatever the university asks of me. And in this case, obviously, serving, on the committee of student relations and the athletic committee, and the development committee. It's all about, to me, making the university better than when I was here. Yeah. And obviously, having kids now, I think about my kids going here and what kind of university do I want for them? How can I serve the university for what their needs might be? So when we're in those meetings talking about all these different things, governance, my focus is on what would I want for my own children. And that's how I approach how to, govern this university and how to make an impact.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is This will be our last question, and I wanted our elder here, ultimate trailblazer, to to answer this. Mr. Hurdle, you came to TCU at a time when TCU was still trying to figure out what it meant to have black students here on campus. So to have this book, to sit in this moment, what does A History to Remember TCU Purple, White, and Black mean to you?
Well, first of all, I want to take an exception, and I will answer that question. I'll make it abbreviated to compensate for this comment, but I want everybody to know I met these three individuals about 2 years ago. Back in 1997, I got a call from someone from the Star-Telegram. Say, are you Ronnie Hurdle who went to TCU? I said, yes, I am. They came over, did an article, the whole deal, and nothing between 1997 until I met these three individuals. And if you noticed on the video, I got kind of emotional. It was a certain amount of pride that I felt in these people, a certain amount of confidence that things are going to be okay. And I know we've already commended them, but I want to offer my 2 cents as well. They've done a tremendous job. I've learned so much, and I think that's a true tribute to their commitment to this school. So I had to say that before I answer this question. But I think I may have kind of answered that question with that comment I just made. I was here 50 years ago, and it's a little different than, and I remember Como. I remember Como before you got there. Because that's kind of where we had to retreat when we left this camp. We went back into the black communities to meet people, to socialize. That's what we were forced to do, because there wasn't a lot of social life on this campus. I lived on campus. So if you wanted to have some social life, you had to go to Como or some of Stop 6, some of the other places off campus. But it was a very difficult time. And there were some difficult times. You know, I appreciate the comments, you know, you all have some good memories of TCU, and I have some wonderful memories of TCU, but I have some dark spots. And I think that's what this does. It tells us it's okay to remember the dark spots, the difficult times, because that's what strengthens you. That's what helps you to grow. Everybody, everything has a history. And if you don't know it, you don't know where you need to go. So I'm so proud of what these three individuals have done. I'm so proud of TCU, of where it's going. And I'm so happy to participate in this panel. I want to get LT's autograph before I leave. But we've got a bright future. And in spite of what the history has said, in spite of the difficult times we've had, the future is bright. And if you read that book, it's going to give you an understanding of where we've come from, but I think more importantly, it's going to tell you where we can go.
Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just want to thank each of the panelists for sharing this moment with y'all. Can we give them another round of applause? Oh, you can say right there, we have something for you all. You can say, CD, we have something for you all. So I'll invite up Dr. G, Dr. Greensford, and Trustee Parker. Yep, absolutely. So just an appreciation of you all taking time today. We have a little something, a token of our appreciation. For those who dared to come and dare to be, thank you for becoming part of TCU history in purple, white, and black. So to Mr. Ronald B. Hurdle, thank you. That's his box. And of course, Trustee Parker, we couldn't without you. So thank you. So we'll take a quick photo with the recipients.
So family members can come in and just follow the professional photographer if you want to take a shot. And while she's giving instructions, I see our president, Daniel Pullen, is in the very back. Thank you, President Pullen, for joining us and being a part of this wonderful evening. Thank you. Being bossed around, I love it. Thank you.
So, we got one more. All right. So I'm going to ask our special guest to return back to their seats. Our special guest to the seats. Yes, thank you. And so each of us of the authors, we'll just kind of give you all some of our closing thoughts. First, I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know you all could have been anywhere in the world. My family from Virginia pulled up. I know y'all could have been anywhere in the world. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. They came to surprise me. He's telling you to come that way. But for everyone that's here, I just want to say thank you all for coming out. This means a lot to us. It was a process. It was a long process for us to kind of put this story together. I tell people all the time, even though TCU is celebrating its 150th, this story has been years in the making. Beyond the year we took actually writing it out, while Adirond College was in Thorpe Springs and to Waco and to Fort. This is when the story is being written. We just had the opportunity to take the pen to the pad and write it. And for you all to participate with us, we appreciate that. I would be remiss if I did not say, Dr. G, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership. And I'll say this piece and I'll pass the mic. This was his book contract, right? And it's important. I know he doesn't like me saying this, but it's important for me to just acknowledge the fact that he gave me, a doctoral student, an opportunity to write alongside him. I was terrified, I'm telling you. This man has book on top of book on top of book. I know how to write my name. So for me to sit alongside him and he trusts me, and Dr. Greensword as well, to trust me in this process, I thank both of y'all, because I've learned a lot doing this. So I appreciate y'all.
I also must say it was such an honor that Dr. G offered us the opportunity to put our names next to him on that book cover. This means more than words can say. I wanted to share with you that the book that we have, it's history in writing, but there are 1,000 ways to record and to share history. I see several of my students are here. The power of oral history. Everybody has that power. Everybody has the power to record history and to share who you are for the next generation. We learn about the tradition of the griot. Everybody here has the power to be a griot. Every person whose name is mentioned in the book is a griot in itself. Anybody who participated in the oral history project with the Race and Reconciliation Initiative is a griot of itself. So now I'm charging each of you to take up on that ministry of recording history and sharing it. You are making history just by being here.
Wow. Okay. So it's hard for me to understand what they're saying because clearly you can see I'm rolling with winners. Okay. So that's why we don't lose over here. And I think that's the whole point. This is a win-win situation. True story, earlier this summer, I was abroad, many miles away. I'm at a conference presentating. Oh, I thought we were on family. Okay, never mind. Okay, the other way. So I'm presenting at an international conference abroad, and this brother from Chile, right? So I'm already abroad, and somebody from another country comes up to me, he's like, TCU. Wait, aren't you the school with that football team that, and I interrupted him and said, beat Michigan. Yeah, you know, right, that's what happened, okay. But the point is, whether you know it or not, our brand is increasingly international. It's not just North Texas or Texas or national. I mean, obviously, President Pullen and other honor students had the opportunity to ring the bell, the stock exchange, but this is an international story. And so therefore, the question is, as my brother Perkins asks all the time, what is the story we tell ourselves about ourselves? And I think we should start with just telling the truth, right? You know, so for 3 quick points in closing is that, number one, we should absolutely continue to embrace our history rather than erase it. We have nothing to fear, especially if it's true, right? You know, because again, as Brother Hurdle said, we can utilize the dark chapters to shine a light upon our path moving forward. So again, when we talk about, oh yes, from this day henceforth, all barriers are removed. But at the same time, we create new policies that ultimately end up in the same place. So what are we talking about, right? And so again, this is the critical thinking that we need right now in the here and now in terms of, you know, we go to these meetings, we do the trainings, it sounds all great and good, but the bottom line is, besides our intent, what's the impact? Number two, we should continue to come together to move forward together. As I look across this mosaic, I wish you had this view I have. So many beautiful people, smiling faces, young and old, right? You know, whether it be from administration to staff. This is what the glimpse of communities that we're talking about. And I think even just the 3 of us coming together to move forward together from different backgrounds, different genders, different birthplaces, obviously different football teams, fly, Eagle, fly. Oh, God bless, God bless, God bless. Okay. All right, I don't think my mic was on. I said fly, Eagle, fly. Okay, never mind. All right. Okay, so the bottom line is, I think we wanted to model this idea of what a community looks like. It takes some effort. It takes a lot of trust. It takes time, right? You know, we had to make time, but oftentimes, ladies and gentlemen, we make time for what's important, right? And I think that's what we were able to demonstrate for ourselves when we look at the changes that we're making and hopefully we'll continue to make. And finally, listen, I mean, I think it's been a plum-pleasing pleasure to share this evening with you, but we want to be very clear. This is not the dispositive end-all, be-all, right? It is a start of a very important and vibrant conversation that hopefully will only continue to grow, and it can only grow if good people like you continue to invest in this story. So this is not right? His story, her story. This is our story, right? For anyone, not just African Americans, right? Power to the people, but just for, okay, yes, but for anyone who dares to wear this purple, right? This is all of our story, and I think we have so many beautiful shades of purple, and what hopefully we're doing is adding on and contributing to this conversation that we will continue. And so with that being said, wherever you are on the path to reconciliation, may you continue to do the best you can with what you have.
Well said, well displayed. So proud of you guys. How about another round of applause for this group? You know, I've had the pleasure to sit at the feet of a very, very well-known poet laureate, Dr. Maya Angelou, and she said to me once, she said, "No soul should be foreign to another." And at the moment when she said it, I didn't quite know what she was speaking about, but hearing and seeing what has taken place here and with this publication, it speaks to the connection that we have with each other as human beings. Then there's an African proverb that says, until the lion learns to read, the hunter will always tell the story. So the horned frogs have learned to read. Now, being from Texas, my parents always told me to recognize people that you have stood on their shoulders, and there's a gentleman in the back of the room, Bob Ray Sanders. Bob doesn't know this, but when I was in school here, he was a writer, I think, at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. And he was constantly on this campus telling our story for the small population that was here. And he made himself known. So I looked at you to say, one day, I want to be like that guy. Not a writer, but a great storyteller. So Bob Ray Sanders, we salute you for being a part of this. So, just want to give some special thanks to our team, our Race and Reconciliation of TCU, and leading this initiative. We'd like to also give a special thanks to the Office of our Graduate Studies, our TCU Marketing and Communications, our TCU Press, as well as the TCU trustees, the JT3 and J Smith and the 4S Band, who's also entertaining us now, the staff and crew of the J. Kelly Alumni Visitor Center here. I was told to say that the books are on sale. The books are on sale. They make, I think, great holiday gifts. So get a volume of them and start to write your names as to who would you like to send them to as a holiday stocking stuffer. And then I would like for each of you to work with the Race and Reconciliation research that our own board member, LaDainian Tomlinson, was the chair of that effort that the Chancellor commissioned to do that work. So LT, thank you for the support that you provided to Dr. G and the rest of the group. Now, I've been also told that there are oral histories that are being captured for those of you who would like to express yourselves. Miss Janae Willis is down the hall and up the stairs in the library. So those of you who would like to capture something, Bob Ray, we would love to capture you on film to say some words and to let you know that dessert is out there. So thank you very much for being a part of this wonderful experience.